Welcome back to Dark Corner's Horror Smackdown quarterfinals. This round we're looking at one individual killer scene from each of the remaining contenders. Some famous, some not so famous. But as ever, we want you to vote for the best or your favourite film overall. Match 59, Nosferatu versus The Thing. Nosferatu has more than its share of great scenes, but the first attack on Hutter is a tour de force. What makes this scene work so well is that it does what every scene should do. It tells a clear, structured mini-story in itself. We start with Hutter happily kissing a portrait of Ellen, his fiancée. A note of foreboding is introduced when he looks at his book, underscored by the clock. This sense of uneasiness compels him to check the door. This starkly terrifying shot marks the end of Act 1. Hutter's reality has been thrown into crisis by the appearance of Orlok. In Act 2, the situation immediately builds. Hutter tries to escape, but there is no way out. The door opening of its own accord shows Orlok's power as he approaches, deepening Hutter's crisis to the point of desperation. Now the vampire enters, deathly, threatening, relentless. A good story needs a twist or perspective change at its midpoint, and now we leap to Ellen. Her inexplicable behaviour makes us fear still more for Hutter, as does the fact that we're away from him at this most tense juncture. What is happening to him while we're gone? As Orlok's shadow consumes Hutter, we know that all is lost. Further driven home by Ellen draws Act 2 to a close. Act 3's start leaves us in no doubt that Orlok is triumphant. He leaves as he came, unhurried, dispassionate, the door shutting behind him, closing down all possible hope as the camera now returns not to Hutter, but to Ellen. Hutter is no longer a part of this mini-story. He lost. Nosferatu won. The Thing's detractors, and they do exist, are fond of saying that the film is nothing but gore. Well executed gore, but still just gore. And yet the film's greatest and, yes, most horrifying scene gets its power from old-fashioned suspense and character.
What do you got in mind, McCready?
McCready outlines what's going to happen in advance.
We're going to draw a little bit of everybody's blood, because we're going to find out who's the Thing.
It's a simple plan.
You see, when a man bleeds, it's just tissue. But blood from one of you things won't obey when it's attacked. It'll try and survive.
This scene could have been done in a series of quick cuts from person to person. Instead, Carpenter lets it play out in real time, focusing on the minutiae, the scalpel, heating the wire, allowing the tension to build and rationing out the moments of release. Building to a climax.
We'll do you last.
What makes this scene so powerful is two things. Firstly, we've all got our favourite characters and our ideas about who might be the Thing, so we're involved and invested in every moment. Secondly, this is a good plan, but one that comes far too late. By now there's no trust left. McCready is holding his former friends hostage, knowing that before this is over, he will have killed at least one of them. In fact, he has already killed one. Giving rise to what is, in many ways, the film's purest and yet most understated moment of horror.
And Clark was human, huh?
And McCready's moment of realisation successfully distracts him and us from where our attention should have been. Although the more famous effect sequence follows, the most shocking moment is still the blood jumping. It's so unexpected and so much less showy than the spectacular effects elsewhere. In any other film, Palmer's visceral transformation, the killing of windows, and the explosive action that follows would be the climax. But Carpenter isn't done playing on our nerves. Having shocked us, killed a few characters and got our blood pumping, he forces us back into tension, Back to the familiar established pattern of build
Let's do it.
and release, before delivering the actual climax.
I know you gentlemen have been through a lot. And when you find the time, I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch!
This isn't about gore. It's about putting people under pressure and watching the best and most decent of them crack beneath the strain. That's horror. Which scenes make these films for you? Tell us your favourites and why. And of course, let us know which film you want to send into the semi-finals.